So I was watching the ASHRAE conference. They had a session in the ASHRAE conference called SARS, MERS, and Ebola and COVID, how to prepare for the next pandemic. And there was a presentation in there by B.Bahnfleth called Engineering Controls for Infectious Diseases. And I think maybe the highlight of the presentation was around slide 12. He showed this chart. And this chart really just caught my eye, right? What it shows here, this is a study that was done in China in some dorms, student dorms. And so what it shows here is the incidence of the common cold infection rates plotted against ventilation rate, right? And so you can see as ventilation rate increases, then we get lower and lower infectious disease transmission rates, right? So for mechanical engineers, this is really, really exciting. Oh, wow, ventilation rate has an impact on the incident rate of infectious diseases. So I wanted to take a little time to spend with this chart, like actually spend some time with this chart. So the first thing I did was, let's create this chart in Excel, make sure that I can map it out with my own data. So matched what the chart actually says. And the second thing you got to do is fix the x-axis problem that's going on here. Obviously 4.1 and 4.2 are right next to each other, and so they shouldn't be. That x-axis is not to scale, so let's go ahead and make it to scale. When we make it to scale, it looks more like this, right? Now, what we could do here is we can curve fit this data because we actually know the relationship that should occur between ventilation rate and contaminant. That is to say, it should be a logarithm. So it should be starting off with the zero ventilation state. There should be an asymptote to a nearly infinite infection rate, and then there should also be an asymptote sort of off to the right, and it should be a logarithmic function in between there. So we curve fit the data, and then for those of us in the US, we're not used to using these units down at the bottom of liters per second per person. We normally use units of CFM per person. So we'll just change out the units now at the bottom. So now we have something that we can actually look at and put in context with the normal ventilation standards that we use, in our building codes and ASHRAE and whatever. The normal minimum ventilation rate that we use is actually about 15 CFM per person. And it varies, 15, 20, 25 CFM per person. That's sort of our normal standard 62 from the 70s or the 90s. We tend to be around that 15 CFM per person. For those of us that are in healthcare, we use significantly more ventilation than that. So even if you look at medical office buildings like x-ray rooms and exam rooms, then they typically talk about using 2 air changes per hour of outside air. And of course, our occupancy is about 5 occupants per 1,000 square feet. So with an 8-foot ceiling, that actually comes out to be about 60 CFM per person of outside air. And of course, if you're in a healthcare setting, not only do you have a minimum ventilation rate of outside air, you also have a ventilation rate that you need to achieve with the total system in every room. So we very often use 6 air changes per hour for that. So that comes out to about 180 CFM per person. So conclusion here is that I think it's really important to start putting these things in context. While it's true that minimum ventilation rates certainly have a relationship to infectious diseases, and underventilated buildings or poorly ventilated buildings are potentially problematic when it comes to the transmission of infectious diseases. We also need to realize that there's a diminishing marginal return here, and that at some point we stop getting any benefit from minimum ventilation rates. And certainly in the healthcare industry, we've taken this out to kind of ridiculous extremes. The minimum ventilation rates that we use ostensibly to combat disease transmission are generally way out beyond any point of diminishing marginal return. And so we've got to be conscious of that. Having a relationship to infectious disease transmission is not an excuse to just sort of blow cost and energy out the window. And so that was what I was thinking.